A tense morning in Ouagadougou. It was a quiet May morning in 2025 in Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso. President Ibrahim Traore, 36, was having breakfast with his family at the presidential palace. He was reading economic reports when his aide, Moussa Kabare, rushed in, looking alarmed. "Mr. President, you need to see this now," he said, handing over a tablet. On the screen, U.S. President Donald Trump was on Fox News, saying, "This Ibrahim Traore from Burkina, whatever, is a failure. A little soldier playing president. I built a billion-dollar empire while he was playing with toys. He should thank me for knowing his country exists." The words hit hard. Ibrahim's wife, Ajara, stopped pouring coffee. "How dare he," she said softly. Ibrahim stayed calm but firm. "Set up an emergency meeting in 30 minutes, he told Moussa. "And prepare the press room. We'll respond." As he stood, he thought about the irony. In 3 years, he'd turned Burkina Faso into one of Africa's fastest-growing economies. His programs lifted millions from poverty, and his education reforms were praised globally. But to Trump, he was just a nobody from a nobody country. 2 hours later, Trump's video was everywhere online. Hashtags like #RespectBurkinaFaso and #Trump vs Ibrahim trended. News outlets raced to cover the story, and the palace was alive with activity. In a meeting with his cabinet, Ibrahim got updates. 15 African presidents called to support you, said Foreign Minister Dr. Alassane Ouedraogo. Even France's President Macron is on your side. What about the African Union? Ibrahim asked. They condemned Trump's words and want him to take them back, Ouedraogo said. In Washington, D.C., the White House was scrambling. Secretary of State Antony Blinken told Trump, "Your comments are causing a diplomatic crisis. Traore is a respected leader, and Burkina Faso is a key country with gold and uranium." Trump shrugged. "I didn't know this guy last week. What's wrong with the truth?" "The problem," Blinken said, "is their economy is strong, and Traore's leadership is admired." In France, Macron held a meeting. "Trump's words are wrong," he said. "Traore is one of Africa's best new leaders." Ibrahim's powerful response in Beijing, Chinese officials saw an opening. "If the Americans don't value their African partners," one said, "we will." In Ouagadougou's presidential palace, Ibrahim Traore crafted a single sentence that would change everything. At 2 p.m., he entered the press room in a crisp navy blue suit, standing tall for Burkina Faso and Africa. Over 80 journalists from CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera, and France 24 watched, cameras capturing every moment. The room fell silent as Ibrahim reached the podium. "Good afternoon," he said, his voice steady and clear. "This morning, President Trump called me a little soldier playing president and said I should thank him for knowing my country exists." He paused, looking right at the cameras. The world held its breath. In Washington, Trump watched from the White House. In Paris, Macron paused his day. In Beijing, diplomats crowded around screens. "Mr. Trump," Ibrahim said, "you boast about building a billion-dollar empire after inheriting $400 million from your father. I built a strong nation from poverty and chaos. Which of us is the real builder?" Silence followed. Journalists were stunned. The sentence was simple, elegant, and cut deep, showing the gap between inherited privilege and earned achievement. "Thank you," Ibrahim said, then walked away, taking no questions. In the White House, Trump went pale, speechless for once. Ibrahim's words exploded online, becoming the most shared quote ever on social media. #Traore destroys Trump reached 10 million mentions in an hour. CNN's Anderson Cooper said live, in 30 seconds, Ibrahim Traore reshaped the global leadership debate. That was one of the most stunning responses I've seen. Social media lit up. Barack Obama wrote, "Leadership is about overcoming obstacles, not inheriting privilege. Respect to President Traore." Elon Musk tweeted, "Savage, Ibrahim Traore. Republican Senator Mitt Romney said, "Differences aside, that was a masterful reply." In the White House, aides scrambled, but no response came. Social media is on fire. Donald Trump looked visibly shaken and asked, "Who is this guy again?" An aide replied, "Ibrahim Traore, sir, president of Burkina Faso." Harvard Business Review just called him one of the 10 most innovative leaders in the world for 2024. Trump snapped, "And why didn't anyone tell me that before?" Meanwhile, in Ouagadougou, Ibrahim was calmly watching the global reaction with his team. "Mr. President," said his communications officer Yakuba Sawadogo, "your statement is being translated into 47 languages. It's trending everywhere. Over 3 billion views in just 2 hours, added Moussa Cabaret. Ibrahim smiled softly. "It's not about numbers. It's about dignity." Ajara walked in with tea and said, "I'm proud of you. You defended our honor without losing your cool." "This is how you deal with disrespect," Ibrahim replied. "With facts. Not anger." Soon, the African Union called an emergency meeting. All 54 African nations stood with Ibrahim. "He spoke for all of us," said the AU chair. "His calm strength brings honor to all of Africa." Surprisingly, Wall Street took notice too. Investors began looking into Burkina Faso, discovering a booming 12% growth rate, untapped gold, and a rising young population. Stocks linked to Burkina Faso jumped 7% in a single day. "This is the best PR campaign Burkina Faso never paid for," joked a Bloomberg analyst. Eventually, Trump tweeted a response, "Ibrahim Traore is a great leader. I always knew Burkina Faso was amazing. The fake news media twisted my words. The internet roasted him. When you're forced to praise the guy who just destroyed you," joked comedian Stephen Colbert. "You've clearly lost." Back in Burkina Faso, people celebrated. Streets in Ouagadougou were filled with music and dancing. "Our president showed the world who we are," chanted the youth. The American embassy had to increase security, not due to threats, but because crowds wanted selfies in front of it. "We want to show friendship with Americans," said one student, "but we respect those who respect us." Top U.S. universities reached out. Harvard offered Ibrahim an honorary title. Yale proposed a student exchange. Colombia's president said, "We want to learn how you transformed your country." Ibrahim thanked them, but stayed focused. "Burkina Faso comes first. The world can wait," he said. A week after his powerful reply, the world saw leadership in a new light. Ibrahim's photo was everywhere. Time magazine named him Person of the Week with the headline, "The Leader Who Redefined Power." The article talked about how much Ibrahim Traore has changed Burkina Faso in just 3 years. He reduced poverty by 40%, doubled the country's income per person, and wiped out malaria in 15 regions. His education programs trained 500,000 young people for modern jobs. In France, President Macron called a special meeting about Africa. "We must understand a new generation of African leaders has arrived," he said. "Ibrahim Traore is one of them. We can't treat them like junior partners anymore." China acted fast. President Xi Jinping announced a $5 billion investment in Burkina Faso, focused on building roads and improving technology. "China supports leaders with vision, no matter where they are," said the Chinese ambassador in Ouagadougou. In Russia, Putin praised Ibrahim in a TV interview. "He's a real leader who stays calm under pressure. Russia wants to work with nations that protect their dignity." Back home, the impact was instant. Tourists from around the world started flying in, curious about the president who had stood up to Trump. Hotels in Ouagadougou were full. Travel agencies launched tours called "Discover the Land of Africa's Bravest Leader." But Ibrahim stayed humble. "Our mission hasn't changed," he told his ministers. "We still have millions of people living in poverty." Economy Minister Fatima Sawadogo reported, "Mr. President, we've received $15 billion in investment proposals in the last 48 hours. Ibrahim replied calmly, we don't want fast growth. We want smart, steady growth. His humble words stood in sharp contrast to the arrogance he had faced. 2 weeks after the world saw Ibrahim's powerful response, Trump was still feeling the heat. His approval ratings dropped by 8 points. Even conservative media began blaming his poor handling of the situation. In a panic, Trump called a press conference. "I'll show who's in charge here," he told his team, who exchanged nervous looks. At the press conference, Trump tried to belittle Ibrahim. "Burkina Faso is a small, poor country. I move more money in a day than they do in a year." But reporters were ready. A CNN journalist asked, "Mr. President, Burkina Faso is growing 3 times faster than the U.S., at 12% a year. How do you explain that?" Trump got frustrated. "Fake numbers. Fake news. The numbers are from the World Bank, sir," the reporter shot back. In Ouagadougou, Ibrahim watched it all on TV. "He doesn't learn," he told Ajara. "The more he attacks, the more he exposes himself." Later, Ibrahim posted just one tweet, "Numbers speak louder than shouting." Burkina Faso is growing at 12% a year by building schools and hospitals. Some choose to build walls and tweet. The tweet went viral, shared 2 million times in just 1 hour. Even U.S. Republicans started criticizing Trump. "This is embarrassing," said a senator from Texas. "This young African president is making ours look like a spoiled child." On Fox News, even Trump's usual supporters said, he needs to stop. These attacks are only making Ibrahim Traore look stronger. Host Tucker Carlson said it straight, "Gentlemen, if you're losing to an unknown guy from Africa, maybe it's time to rethink your strategy." Trump's efforts to fight back had only made things worse. About a month after the controversy began, something unexpected happened. The U.S. Congress, with support from both parties, invited Ibrahim Traore to speak at a joint session. This was a rare honor for any African leader. Trump was furious. "This is an insult to the presidency," he shouted in the Oval Office. "How can they invite that kid to speak in my Congress?" But the Republican leadership didn't fully back him. "Mr. President," said the Senate Majority Leader, 78% of Congress supports this. Blocking it would be political suicide. The U.S. ambassador in Ouagadougou delivered the official invitation. "President Traore," said Ambassador David Miller, "this is a very rare honor. Only 12 African leaders in history have ever spoken before Congress." Ibrahim didn't rush to say yes. He thought about it for days. Accepting the invitation would show the world he's a global leader, but it also meant leaving his country at a very important time. "What do you think?" he asked Ajara. "This is your moment to show the world who we are," she said. "But only go if you can do it on your own terms." Ibrahim agreed, with conditions. "I'll come to the U.S., he told the ambassador, "but I also want to meet African communities, students, and local groups. I want to see the real America, not just Washington." News of his decision spread fast. TV networks announced special coverage. The White House tried to downplay it, just a routine speech, they claimed. But nobody believed that. This was a historic moment. A young African president was about to stand in front of U.S. lawmakers, as an equal. Back in Ouagadougou, people were celebrating. "Our president is going to show the world who we are," said a street vendor. "Trump created a monster," joked a college student. Ibrahim stayed calm. "I'm not going to conquer," he said. "I'm going to build bridges." On a cold morning in May, Ibrahim landed in the U.S. for the first time. The airport in Washington was crowded with journalists and cheering supporters. Hundreds of African Americans and immigrants had come to welcome him, waving Burkina Faso flags. He represents us, said a Senegalese nurse. Finally, we have a voice. Trump refused to attend the official welcome, but Congress planned big events anyway. The day before the speech, Ibrahim visited Howard University, a historically black college, where students greeted him like a hero. "You are the bridge between Africa and America," a student told him. "Never forget where you come from," Ibrahim replied. The morning of the speech, Washington, D.C. was packed. Senators and members of Congress from both sides filled the seats. Even Trump showed up, sitting stiffly in the presidential gallery. When Ibrahim stepped up to the podium, the room went silent. He began, "Honorable members of Congress. I didn't come here to beg. I came as a partner. We don't want handouts, we want respect and cooperation." For 45 minutes, Ibrahim Traore shared a powerful message about a strong, independent Africa. "Burkina Faso doesn't need saviors," he said. "We need real partners who treat us as equals." He spoke proudly of the 2 million jobs created, 1,200 new schools built, and solar energy projects that brought electricity to remote villages. "We did this ourselves, with our own resources, determination, and dignity," he said. The most powerful moment came when he addressed Trump directly. "President Trump, greatness isn't about the money you were born with, it's about the legacy you leave behind. You still have time to decide what that legacy will be." The room exploded in applause. Members of Congress, both Democrats and Republicans, gave him a standing ovation. Trump stayed seated, clearly uncomfortable. Ibrahim's speech was remembered as one of the most powerful ever delivered in the U.S. Congress. 6 months after that historic moment, Ibrahim was back in Ouagadougou. But the world had changed. His response to Trump was now studied in diplomacy schools. Harvard even launched the Ibrahim Traore Young Leadership Prize to honor new leaders each year. Burkina Faso saw a wave of investment, $25 billion in new funding. Apple announced a factory in Ouagadougou. Google opened a research center. Microsoft launched digital training for young people. Standing at the construction site of the country's new tech university, Ibrahim told Ajara, "I never thought one sentence could change so much." Ajara smiled. "It wasn't the sentence," she said. "It was your courage to say it." Feeling politically weak, Trump tried one last move. In an interview, he said, "I always knew Ibrahim was special. I'm the one who introduced him to the world." The world laughed. Even his supporters didn't buy it. In Africa, Ibrahim had sparked a movement. Young leaders across the continent began following his example, choosing education, merit, and dignity over politics as usual. People began calling them the Traore generation. From Ghana to Rwanda to Kenya, change was in motion. The World Bank released a special report titled, "The Burkina Faso Miracle: How One Nation Changed Everything in Just 3 Years." It became a global model for sustainable growth. The UN invited Ibrahim to serve as a special advisor on Africa's development. One evening, walking through the palace garden, Ibrahim reflected on his journey. At just 36, he had become a symbol of hope around the world. But what made him most proud were the results at home. Extreme poverty, gone. All children in school. Life expectancy up by 8 years. "Daddy," said his 9-year-old daughter, "you're famous all over the world." Ibrahim smiled and hugged her. "I'm not famous, my dear. I'm useful. And being useful is much better than being famous." The sentence that once humbled Trump had now built something far bigger, a new kind of leadership, built on truth, respect, and the courage to stand tall.